Water in the Middle East, and in Israel in particular, is a miracle. And Israel has vast technological abilities that can provide this necessity to us and to the entire region.
That's right, today on Insights Israel in the Middle East, we're learning about the compound technological miracle that is the water in Israel. And it blew my mind. Incredible story. "71% of this planet is covered in water. And yet more than 2 billion people don't have access to fresh drinking water on a regular basis. And believe it or not, the state of Israel is using this salty water here on the shores of the Mediterranean to refill our natural biggest source of fresh water, the Sea of Galilee. And the way it's being done is nothing short of incredible. We're filtering the water in desalination plants across the coast of the Mediterranean and then pumping it back into the Sea of Galilee up in northern Israel. And not only is it enough to solve the problem for the inhabitants of this country, but we have a surplus that allows us to give water to our neighboring countries. Today, we're diving deep into that story. The story of how Israel has once again solved its water crisis and is able to bless our neighboring countries in the process.
People turn on the tap in the house and water comes out, and they take for granted that we have water in our taps every day, anytime, and as much as we want. People don't realize how much work and planning and effort went into creating that situation.
Stability is often dependent on this resource being available in a consistent fashion. For most of our neighbors, regardless of how much money or technology or resources they have, that's usually not the case.
Somebody said the Third World War would be about water. You need water to live, to survive. If we can help provide other countries, other communities with water, great.
To fully understand Israel's water innovation, we need to delve into its history. I'm on my way to meet with Matan Habari at one of Israel's vital water sources, the Sea of Galilee.
Shalom, Matan. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Maybe we start from the beginning. Tell us who you are, what you do, what your role is, what that logo on your shirt means.
So my name is Matan Habari. I'm a water quality engineer for the National Water Conduit of Israel, operated by Mekorot, Israel National Water Company. Mekorot was founded in 1937, 11 years before the State of Israel. The understanding that water supply is the key to life in different parts of Israel, you have to have water. In the 1960s, the biggest infrastructure project in the history of Israel was formed, the National Water Carrier. Water was driven from the Sea of Galilee in the northern Israel, which is blessed with rain, to the south of Israel, which has zero rainfall. Israel went into high debts just in order to pay for a huge project, but one that enabled a life all over Israel.
And where are we standing today? What is this place?
We are standing today at Sapir site. Sapir site is the first stage of pumping from Lake Kinneret to the National Water Conduit. Lake Kinneret is a strategic source of water to Israel, supplying not only to the rest of Israel through the National Water Conduit, and not less important, the Kingdom of Jordan.
As part of the peace agreement between Israel and Jordan in the 1990s, Israel initially provided 15 million cubic meters of water annually. Subsequently, this amount was doubled. So in essence, Israel's Sea of Galilee provides Jordan with most of its water.
They pump from the south of Lake Kinneret to their system, supplying much of the water needed to be supplied to Amman.
So this lake was very, very important both to the Israeli people and to the Jordanian people at the same time.
Exactly.
And you had the unique pleasure of being involved in a project that's taking care of the future of this lake, pulling water from desalination plants on the coast back to the Sea of Galilee.
Yeah, changes in weather over the recent decades caused continuous years of drought, and just in order for us to be able to secure supply of water, we had to ensure the level of the lake will be high enough so we can pump from it. In 2017, after 5 years of drought, the levels of Sea of Galilee decreased to historical low levels. This went alongside with Israel developing a huge projects of desalination plants all along the Mediterranean coast. So what we do now is we take water from the coastal desalination plants, pump it, and in times of surplus, bringing water back to Lake Kinneret.
Has this been done before anywhere else in the world?
Not that we know of, no.
I'm trying to compound in my head what it takes to do a project like that. You need to have the technology and the know-how to make the desalination plants, the energy reserves to be able to pump all that water, one through the plant, then across the country to this point, and then have the planning system and the distribution system to make all of it work together.
Exactly.
And that sounds like a huge, huge, huge challenge on a government level.
This is what we do at Mekorot. We have deep water wells pumping from the ground. We have desalination plant. We have Sea of Galilee. We combine all of these sources according to models, see where it is the most economical and the most feasible in water quality, and take water from one part of the country, distribute it to the other part of the country.
This multidisciplinary methodology of we have the different sources, the different ways to move it around, they give stability and a peace of mind for the people of Israel in never having to worry about what happens when I open the tap. It's always going to have fresh water in it.
It is what makes Israel come together and come alive.
For people like Matan, working at Israel's national water company is clearly not just a job. It's a profound mission.
Matan, how does that make you feel where you're part of an entity that's been planning long-term for decades at this point?
That makes me feel very proud. Mekorot and the Israeli government plan ahead. It's a very Sisyphic work. It's all built from small steps, one on top of the other. But the end goal is ensuring a supply of fresh water to the Israeli consumer.
Welcome back. Mati, water. It's the first time in history, I think all over the world, that people are taking salt water from the Mediterranean and filling up a lake of sweet water.
And getting to that solution wasn't simple. I mean, if you look at the desalination plants, they're expensive, they're complex, they take years to complete and plan. Look at the fact that we're now providing the Jordanians with a lot of the water to run their country. And it's almost hard to grasp how much it takes, how many elements have to come together and line up for that to happen. When I was a child, definitely when you were a child, we were taught constantly, preserve water, don't take long showers. It was this whole thing that we constantly talked about. Today, my kids, your grandkids soon, will grow up in a reality where they don't have to think about water shortages. And here we are sharing water with our neighbors without any concern to our own water because we have enough. We have a surplus of blessing. To get to this point, it required so many unique events taking place that it's impossible to say God's hand wasn't involved in this. We're witnessing what I like to call a complex miracle, where something that seems simple at the end of the chain required such a long series of unique events.
By the way, I like the term complex miracle. I think people are expecting in their life a miracle from today to tomorrow.
Yeah.
Their problem will be gone. And it's beautiful to see that God is working in a very unique way. And God has a beautiful plan. And we don't have the patience, and we want to see a solution immediately. Let us continue and watch how God gave a supernatural wisdom and how water is a part of God's blessing for the nation of Israel.
I want to learn more about this complex project of pumping desalinated water back into the Sea of Galilee. So I'm headed to the limnological lab in the banks of the Sea of Galilee to meet senior scientist and director, Gidon Gal.
Shalom, Gidon.
Hi, Mati. Welcome.
Thank you. Let's go see your famous lab.
Let's go. So the Kinneret Limnological Laboratory was established back in 1968. After they connected the lake to the national water carrier, they realized they needed an institute here that would monitor water quality in the lake and understand the processes. And the lab, since 1969, has been in charge of monitoring and understanding what goes on in the lake.
So the headline that drew us is this unique project that's happening here where instead of pumping from the lake, you're pumping back into the lake from artificially manufactured fresh water?
It came about, I think, mainly because of the 5-year drought we had back in 2013 to 2018.
Between 2013 and 2018, this region faced a severe drought. While not uncommon, this one was unusually long and challenging. Water scarcity led to risks for agriculture, water rationing, and environmental threats like dust storms and wildfires. While many of its neighbors struggled through this time, Israel turned adversity into an opportunity.
The government decided that they want to link areas that are not connected to the national water system. So the Upper Galilee, the Golan Heights, the Jordan Valley, they want to connect to the national water system, and they want to do that via the Kinneret, which meant they need to ensure that there's enough water in the lake. And so in order to do that, we need another source of water, and that source of water is desalinated water.
So you mentioned that the levels were dropping on the Sea of Galilee, and there was a need to find another source of water. And at the same time, you're looking and saying, well, there's another resource where we can pull water from, which is desalination. Maybe you can sort of back us into that story of how we get to the point where we have a surplus of water that we can even pull from.
Go back to the previous drought, which was in the early 2001, 2002. I think Israel back then already realized that there's going to be a need for another source of water, and they started talking about desalination. And now there's 5 desalination plants along the Israeli coast, the Mediterranean, some of them the largest in the world. The benefits are obvious. You know, it's a source that you can draw upon nearly endlessly. Israel now is the only country in the Middle East that has no limit or lack of water.
Given the complexity of the task at hand, the lab's extensive facilities are reassuring.
This is our dock in Mekorot. This is where we keep our research boats. We use them to go out sampling nearly every day of the week. We sample water for biology, chemistry, physics, different stations, different depths.
Thank you, sir.
This is a lab in which we try and determine the amount of cyanobacteria and toxins in the water.
What is that? What is a cyanobacteria?
Oh, Didi, do you want to explain?
It's one part of the phytoplankton here in the lake.
Is it a good thing or a bad thing?
It's a bad thing, and it's a worldwide problem.
Mati, this is our algae or phytoplankton lab. And this is Ala, who is our expert phytoplankton person.
What are you doing here?
I'm count phytoplankton. It's a sample from Kinneret.
So essentially every room here is looking at a different index of water health.
A different component of the ecosystem, and together we look at that and try and understand the health of the ecosystem and water quality.
And it just goes into this question of like, what does it take to have clean water in our taps at home?
That's right.
It goes back to this whole set of knowledge that works on this specific body of water.
Exactly.
Just to be able to say, you know, we're good.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly so.
I am profoundly amazed by the sheer brilliance of Israel's prolific water infrastructure.
Look around us in Israel, there's a lot of very unstable things, but the basic necessity for human life, water, is a very stable thing, which provides us with the stability, you know, understanding that, you know, Israel is here to stay, and because our ability to build this type of infrastructure and look into the future.
Today we have the honor of having the Deputy Director General of the Israeli Water Authority, Mr. Danny Greenwald.
Pleasure.
Danny, can I call you Danny?
Definitely.
Danny,
Pleasure being here.
Great honor. If there's one thing that was lacking in this country was water. So what does it mean, the Israeli Water Authority? What do they do?
What do? We are the regulator of the Israeli water sector. What do regulators do? Regulators, they plan the system, how it will be long-term, and determine who does what. The questions we're dealing with are long-time, future. What will be the population in Israel? How much water will they use? What will our water sources be? Natural water, desalination, treated wastewater. What will be the pricing? How do we encourage innovation? How do we encourage efficient use of water? With the water comes the sewage. What can we do with this sewage? Because in Israel, we treat sewage and we use it. We use it for agriculture. We use it for agriculture for plants that we eat. What is the quality that is necessary?
Interesting. When we talk about water and technology, does Israel bring something new to the table? Does Israel bring any blessings?
Oh, many. And we see it today in the last We see it these last few years, and we see it almost daily when we meet representatives from companies and from governments all around the world on how we run the system and how it can be done. And I'm a water regulator, so I'll start with regulation. The water law determines that the water is owned by the people and run by the state. It's the state's obligation to make sure that everyone have water. This brings motivation for innovation. The moment you put the water with a real price and people understand that you don't have enough and you have to make the most benefit from it, well, you'll have the private sector finding the solution. Take the great Israeli invention of the drip feed. It was not invented by a governmental committee. There was a farmer that saw that beside a dripping faucet, the plants grew best. And it's all around the world. If you have a leaking pipe, how do you find it? By motivation for innovation, today you can find it by satellites. There's Israeli companies that by satellite images will find where you have a leak in the pipe because they'll see that the soil moisture is higher. Out of our situation of a water shortage, we have developed the techniques. The most expensive water is the water which you didn't use. If I would desalinated water in the Mediterranean, send it up the mountain until here to Jerusalem and have it leak out of the pipe without using it, and this is a lesson we're going all around the world and showing how to use it. Treated wastewater. Everyone are talking about using treated wastewater, but Israel uses treated wastewater. Between 80 to 90% of the wastewater manufactured is used mainly for agriculture. And we've come to a situation today that out of the wanting to use every drop of water, then we use every drop of water twice. We clean our water and we use them again. We use them again for agriculture, and then we eat it.
I heard people talking about a project between Jordan and Israel on energy and water. Can you elaborate on that?
A project which is evolving, and it isn't set yet, but it's evolving. One of the things you have a lot in Saudi Arabia and in southern Jordan, there's a lot of land, open land with a lot of sun, and there's a large potential for solar energy.
Interesting.
Israel is kind of condensed, kind of small. We don't have much area. But what Israel has is the Mediterranean Sea all along its coast. So the idea is that Israel will buy green energy produced in Saudi Arabia or Jordan, and with this energy, which will lead into the grid, it will be able to desalinate seawater and supply it to the Kingdom of Jordan as drinking water. It's beautiful. The United States is pushing it. We're in it. Jordan is in it. The Gulf country states are in it. And I hope we'll succeed. It's very important.
Danny, people are watching us from all over the world, and they love coming here. And when they're on the tour, can they drink the water, the tap water, or do they need to buy bottled water?
Bottled water in Israel, excellent business for the bottling companies, has nothing to do with water quality.
Really?
The water in the tap is healthier than the water you buy in the.
So guys, when you come to Israel, you can save some money.
Save money, drink tap water. It's healthy, it's good, it's safe, and it's quite cheap.
At this point, it's pretty much common knowledge that Israel has solved its water problem. And one of the big tools we use to do that is desalination. And we're heading to Ashdod, to one of the biggest desalination plants in this country. And this same technology, and Barak, the person we're about to meet, have sold this same system to Bahrain. When you're looking for the people who are directly affected from the Abraham Accords, these are those people who are now exporting knowledge and technology and building relationships with our newfound neighbors across the pond.
Hello, Mati. How are you?
I'm good. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Welcome to Ashdod Desalination Plant. The purpose of this plant is to provide 100 million cubic meters of potable water every year. In a given moment, the state of Israel is almost totally dependent on desalinated water.
In order to see how all this remarkable work is done, we had to go inside. This place is huge, loud, and very impressive.
So we're now inside one of the first phases of desalination?
Exactly. This is the point when the seawater are meeting the membranes for the first time after an onshore intake about a kilometer from here, and start the procedure that will eventually end in the desalinated water. Basically, a desalination plant is like a system of filters. It starts from a very big filter, and gradually It's getting smaller and smaller until all the salts are being removed from the water and you end up with almost pure H2O. High-pressure pumps are pumping the water to the disc filters and exposing the membranes to water and salts. Okay. Salt water only.
I think for people who have abundant water, it's hard to understand how hard one has to work when you don't have water. And this room exemplifies that there's several of these enormous halls that their entire purpose is bringing fresh water. And when you hear the noise and see the machinery, you understand what a complex task it is to create abundant water for a country.
In the Bible, Moses had to strike the rock to get water out of it, and this is the same thing we're doing here in Mekorot. Israel, since the beginning of time, are working very hard to get water efficiency. Mekorot, for the past 80 years, did desalination of seawater and brackish water and groundwater and surface water. And based on the knowledge we gained over the years, we are trying to share our knowledge with other countries.
Over the years, Mekorot has primarily shared knowledge with countries in Africa, Asia, and the Americas. In recent years, our neighbors in the Middle East have been included.
Suddenly we started to get contacts from the Emirates, from Bahrain, from Morocco, following the historical Abraham Accords.
You don't just have clients now, you have friends in what used to be an enemy state.
I want to believe it's based on a deep level of friendship. My father is German and my mother is Egyptian. My grandmother is fluent in Arabic. I cannot speak a word of Arabic. But after we came back from the trip to Bahrain, me and the CEO signed up for Arabic lessons. You cannot even start to imagine the opportunities that will emerge from this connection. Exciting times.
Hello, this is Mati here in Jerusalem with TBN Israel.
This is Yair Pinto from TBN Israel here in Jerusalem. TBN Israel is keeping viewers informed with Israel-focused news, culture, and what God is doing in this land.
Support TBN Israel today online at tbn.org/Israel. Thank you.